Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please take a moment to turn off any modern contraptions that may buzz, ring, or flash during the performance. There will be one 15-minute intermission. During that time, you may buy a sweet or savory treat, but please partake of it before you re-enter the theatre. We now draw you into the romantic pages of a Jane Austen novel as we enter the Bennet home in Hertfordshire, England.
Now, my dear, how does Mr. Bingley's fortune concern Jane and Elizabeth?
My dear Mr. Bennet, how can you be so tiresome? You know very well I'm thinking of his marrying one of them.
But Mamma, we have not even met the gentleman.
It is very likely that Mr. Bingley may fall in love with one of you.
Is that his reason for settling here?
You must visit him at once.
You and the girls may go. You are as handsome as any of them. And Mr. Bingley might like you the best of the party.
My dear, you flatter me. I certainly have had my share of beauty, but I don't pretend to be extraordinary now that I have 5 grown-up daughters.
What a fine walk I've had. Oh, Jane, you should have come with me.
She had her needlework to finish.
Elizabeth, Mamma has just been telling us that Netherfield is let, so Charlotte Lucas told me this morning.
And you didn't confide in your own mother.
Sir William Lucas and Lady Lucas have already called on Mr. Bingley, and Charlotte says he has very pleasing manners.
Did you hear that, Mr. Bennet? Please consider your daughters. It will be impossible for us to visit him if you do not.
I dare say Mr. Bingley will be very glad to see you. I'll send a few lines by you to assure him of my consent to his marrying whichever he chooses my daughters.
Have you come with me to my room, Jane? Mamma may feel she may talk more freely in our absence.
Order tea served in a few minutes, Lizzie.
Yes, Mamma.
Mr. Bennet, I insist that you call upon Mr. Bingley at once.
must throw in a good word for my little Lizzie.
Oh, you will do no such thing. Lizzie's not a bit better than the others. I'm sure she's not half so handsome as Jane, or half so good-humoured as Lydia.
No?
But you're always giving her the preference.
Am I?
Oh, you delight in vexing me. You have no consideration for my poor nerves.
You mistake me, my dear. I have a high respect for your nerves. They are my old friends. I've heard you mention them with consideration these 20 years.
Oh, you don't know what I suffer.
But you will get over it, and you will live to see many young men of 4,000 a year come to the neighborhood. I hope to be undisturbed in the library.
Lady Lucas and Father Lucas, madam. Show them in, Lucy. And tell Miss Jane and Miss Elizabeth that we have guests. Yes, madam. Good afternoon, Lady Lucas. And Charlotte, my dear, how well you are looking. We only have but a short time to stay. Oh, don't say that. I've so been looking forward to a nice long chat. I thought you'd be interested to know that we have called at Netherfield, and our call has been returned. So soon. How agreeable of him.
I hope to see Elizabeth. Miss Jane and Miss Elizabeth are coming downstairs.
Good day, Lady Lucas. Oh, Charlotte, I am so glad you came over.
And I. How nice to see you, Lady Lucas.
We are on our way to make other calls, my dear. Has Charlotte told you that she has already met Mr. Bingley?
Yes, and that he asked her for the honour of the first dance when he gives his ball at Netherfield. How nice for you, Charlotte.
It is only a gesture of politeness. He has not yet seen you, Jane. I am distressed that Mr. Bennet has not yet called upon Mr. Bingley. Most pleasing young man, I hear.
Oh, very agreeable. His sister, Miss Bingley, who is to keep house with him, is a very fine lady, used to London society.
It will be pleasant to have her in the neighbourhood. He has a friend visiting him too, a Mr. Darcy.
Oh, another young man?
Reported to have an income of £10,000 a year.
£10,000!
I thought him handsome, but with proud and disagreeable manners.
Oh, why doesn't Mr. Bennet call?
Do not distress yourself, Mamma. No doubt we shall meet him at the assembly.
I must prevail upon Mr. Bennet to call upon Mr. Bingley at once.
Indeed you must. Come, Charlotte, we must be on our way.
Perhaps we can have another walk tomorrow morning.
I shall be looking forward to it.
It's been a delightful chat. Good afternoon, ladies.
Oh, dear me. I'm so distressed by your father's conduct. Charlotte Lucas may have a husband before any of you.
Charlotte is our very good friend, and we wish her well.
Lady Lucas is a selfish, designing woman. Oh, gloat over me. I can see plainly that she schemes to marry Charlotte and Mr. Bingley.
Nonsense, Mamma. Charlotte has a mind of her own, and so no doubt has the young man.
How could your father upset my poor nerves like this?
I hope, my dear, that you have prepared a good dinner for tonight. I have reason to expect an addition to our family party.
What do you mean? Lizzie, did you invite Charlotte Lucas?
No, Mamma.
The person of whom I speak is a gentleman and a stranger.
It is Mr. Bingley! You did call on him, I am sure of it. Oh, how unlucky there is not a bit of fish to be got today. Jane, my love, so lucky at once.
It is not Mr. Bingley. It is a person of whom I've never seen before in my life.
But if you've never seen him before, how do you know he's coming?
Your father speaks in riddles, purposely to vex my poor nerves.
You observe, my dear, that I have a letter.
I didn't know you had a letter.
You gave me no chance to mention it earlier. It came a fortnight ago and I have already answered it. It is from my cousin, Mr. Collins.
Oh, pray do not speak of that odious man. Mr. Collins, indeed. Can't you wait until you are dead to turn us out of the house?
My dear, nothing we can do can keep Mr. Collins from inheriting Longbourn when I die.
I do think this most grievous affair that your estate should be entailed away from your own children.
It is the law, Mamma.
I cannot bear to think of it.
But when you hear what he has to say, you may be a bit softened toward him.
I am sure I shall not. I think it was very impertinent of him to write you at all.
For one thing, he says he has received his ordination.
Oh, clergyman.
And that he's been appointed to a rectory by the patronage of Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
Whoever she may be.
At any rate, he's coming here today for a fortnight's visit.
Am I supposed to make him welcome?
Judge for yourself by this line. I cannot be otherwise than concerned at being a means of injuring your amiable daughters.
I am glad he realized it.
And beg leave to apologize for it, as well as to assure you of my readiness to make them every possible amends.
Well, if he is disposed to make any amends, I shall not be the one to discourage him.
I am impatient to see him.
I am impatient to see Mr. Bingley. Why do you remain so stubborn in this matter?
If it will ease your poor nerves, my dear, I have already called the young gentleman.
Papa, you have? How good of you!
Thank you, my dear.
This is Papa, my dear, a good joke on us all.
The call and never say a word about it till now.
And let Mamma tell him all about Mr. Bingley. Lady Lucas will soon see that Charlotte is no whit ahead of my own girl.
Mamma, what do you think? We saw it from our window upstairs.
What are they talking about?
The carriage from Netherfield. It's coming up front. A young gentleman is getting out. It must be Mr. Bingley.
He has a fine blue coat.
A young lady's with him. And another gentleman.
Elizabeth, slow down your hair!
Yes, Mamma. Mr. Bingley, Miss Bingley, Mr. Darcy. Oh!
Show them in.
Yes.
And what did he say at once?
Yes, madam.
And tell Miss Mary to come down immediately.
Yes, madam.
Mary makes such a good impression on visitors. You're so very intelligent. Jane, my dear, be composed as I am.
Yes.
Lydia and Kitty, tone down your voices and mind your manners.
Yes, Mamma.
Resume your needlework, Jane. Men admire an accomplished young woman. And Lizzie, find your sharp tongue.
Yes, Mamma.
My dear, I think for the moment, your family is under control. Good afternoon. May I present my wife and daughters, Miss Jane, Miss Elizabeth, Miss Catherine, and Miss Lydia.
It is a great pleasure. Let me present to you my sister, Miss Bingley, who has desired to make her acquaintance.
How delighted I am, my dear Miss Bingley.
And my friend, Mr. Darcy.
Pray, be seated. We shall have tea in a moment.
I trust you're well established at Netherfield by now.
Yes, indeed. Thanks to the excellent management of my sister. I'm looking forward to a pleasant stay.
I don't know a place in the county that is the equal of Netherfield. You will not think of quitting in a hurry, I hope?
Whatever my brother does is done in a hurry.
If I should resolve to quit Netherfield, I should probably be off in 5 minutes. At the present, however, I found the surroundings quite charming.
One moves in such limited society.
But people themselves alter so much that there is something new to be observed in them forever.
I can't see that London has such a great advantage over the country, except for the shops. The country is a great deal pleasanter. Is it not, Mr. Bingley?
When I'm in the country, I never wish to leave it.
And when he's in town, it was pretty much the same.
I can be equally happy in either.
Ah, that is because you have the right disposition. But this gentleman seems to think the country is nothing at all.
Indeed, Mamma. You quite mistook Mr. Darcy. He only meant that there is not such a variety of people to be met with in the country as in town.
Well, I know we dine with 24 families.
Did you hear the officers are stationed at Meryton, Mr. Bingley? Allow it, fun we have with them.
You know how young girls fancy a red coat. I was once that way myself.
Indeed.
I understand that you've met Miss Lucas.
Yes, I have called upon the family.
Charlotte is our dear friend.
What an agreeable man Sir William is. So much a man of fashion. So genteel, so easy.
He certainly is.
He always has something to say to everybody. That is my idea of good breeding. And those persons who consider themselves very important and never open their mouths quite mistake the matter. Charlotte was here just this morning, just to see. A very good sort of girl. What a pity she is not handsome. Not that I think that Charlotte is so very plain.
She seems a very pleasant young woman.
Oh, dear me, yes. But you must own she is very plain.
Surely, my dear, you can think of some subject of more interest to our guests.
But Lady Lucas herself has often said so, and envied me Jane's beauty. Now, I don't like to boast of my own child, but to be sure, Jane, one doesn't often see anybody better looking. It's what everybody says.
They're quite right.
My third daughter will be down presently. Mary is the clever one, always reading and making extracts, as well as constantly practicing on the piano.
What pleasant weather we are having this week.
I find it still is cool.
Maybe you are right.
Part of my purpose in calling here today was to invite you all to a ball at Enfield. It shall be a fortnight from now.
Oh, Kitty, did you hear that? I do hope you will invite some of the officers.
If it shall please you. Miss Lucas has promised me the first dance. Will you do the honor of promising me the second?
Thank you. I will.
What a charming amusement for young people dancing is, Mr. Darcy.
Yes, and it has the advantage of being in vogue everywhere. The savage can dance.
May I present our daughter, Miss Mary, Miss Bingley, Mr. Bingley, and Mr. Darcy.
Jane, my love, tea for Mary.
I am sorry I was not present when you called. I have been reading. Indeed. What finds such comfort in a good volume of sensible thoughts?
Mary is the clever one.
What a delightful library you have at Pemberley.
It has been the work of many generations.
Elizabeth, too, is fond of reading. You ought to have much in common.
I am sure we never read the same books, nor with the same feeling.
If you will excuse us now, you spoke of having to write a letter to your sister.
Yes,
Miss Darcy is such a dear girl. We all think the world of her. Do we not, Charles?
Oh yes, I'm sure we'll like it here.
I said you think the world of Miss Darcy, Charles.
Oh yes, a very nice child.
We look forward to seeing you soon again.
At the ball, you won't forget. Sure, you don't forget.
I'm certain that I will not.
You provide them with the topic of conversation for some days to come.
Mr. Wickham. Oh, Kitty, Mr. Wickham's calling.
How many callers we have this afternoon. Shall we, Maiden?
Yes, ma'am.
The next time you call, I hope you can take a turn in our garden. It is a bit small, perhaps, but our friends consider it quite delightful.
I'm certain that it is.
Mr. Wickham, have you met our guests? Miss Bingley, Mr. Bingley, Mr. Darcy.
we bid you good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon.
Mr. Wickham, I lead you to the tender graces of the ladies, while I retire to the library. I'm charmed, I assure you.
I shall continue with my extracts.
I have called with an invitation from your sister, Mrs. Phillips.
Oh, how nice of you.
She would be pleased to have your daughters at home for dinner tonight, and perhaps a game of lottery tickets afterward.
Oh, Mama, say we may go.
So many of the officers will be there in the evening.
But we ourselves have a guest coming for dinner. Your father's cousin, Mr. Collins.
He won't care to see us.
We should be here to greet him.
Miss Elizabeth, I wish especially that you should attend.
Thank you, but I think not.
I shall go. You may escort me there yourself.
I will too. Do you say yes, Mama?
Very well. Mind you behave yourselves and don't flirt with the officers.
You know we don't flirt.
Then get your wraps. I must see about dinner.
We won't be a minute, Mr. Wickham.
I wish I had a new bonnet to wear.
Mr. Wickham, don't answer the question if you find it objectionable, but did Mr. Darcy acknowledge your greeting just now?
He did not.
Oh, I thought him very rude.
Perhaps we are mistaken.
He seemed a polite gentleman, though rather silent. Oh, Jane, you never see a fault in anybody. I thought him very disagreeable, as if it would hurt him to open his lips.
Are you much acquainted with Mr. Darcy?
As much as I ever wished to be.
I have no way to give my opinion. I have known him too long and too well to be a fair judge.
You have?
My father was steward of Pemberley, the Darcy estate. The present Mr. Darcy's father had a deep attachment for me.
Then why does he ignore you?
The late Mr. Darcy was one of the best men that ever breathed. But his son is a very different sort of man.
His abominable pride is quite disgusting.
The military life is not what I was intended for. In fact, I was brought up in the church.
Indeed.
I should at this time been in possession of the most valuable flair of the living. That pleased the gentleman we were speaking of just now.
You mean Mr. Darcy interfered?
The book was bequeathed to me by his father, but it was given elsewhere.
Good heavens! How could his will be disregarded?
Mr. Darcy chose to doubt his father's intentions.
Good heavens! He deserves to be publicly disgraced.
Sometime or other he will be, but it shall not be by me. If I like to forget his good father, I can never try or expose him.
What can have induced him to behave so cruelly?
There are determinants like I can only attribute to jealousy.
I never thought Mr. Darcy as bad as this. How could Mr. Bingley be friendly with such a man? Surely, there must be some mistake.
Mr. Darcy can please when he chooses. Your sympathy is very comforting.
What can I do to sympathize?
Do you notice my new bonnet?
Where's he coming, Miss Lydia?
Come, let us be off.
I hope I shall see you soon, Miss Elizabeth. You too, Miss Jane?
Thank you. What did you think of him? Oh, Mr. Wickham? No, Mr. Bingley. What did you think of him? He never could keep his eyes from you. I think he is just what a young man ought to be. Sensible, good-humored, and I never saw such a happy manner. He is also handsome, which a young man ought to be if he possibly can. I'm very much flattered by his asking me for a dance. Didn't expect such a compliment. And why not? So, Elizabeth, what could be more natural than his asking? He couldn't help but see how pretty you are. Dear Lizzie, do you really think so? I give you my word for it, and I give you leave to like him. Only Mamma. I know, dear. But we can't change Mamma. She will always be the same.
The girls have gone.
Yes, Mamma.
What a charming man Mr. Bingley is. And did you notice, Lizzie, how taken he was with Jane?
I noticed.
That proud Mr. Darcy paid little attention to you, Lizzie. But no matter how large his fortune, it is no ill luck to be disliked by him.
I agree.
He is a disagreeable, horrid man, and I quite detest him.
Oh, Mr. William Collins, mother.
Oh, so soon. Lizzie, go fetch your father. Show him in.
Yes, madam.
Hope my nerves will survive his visit.
Mr. William Collins.
Ladies.
Your servant, sir. I trust I could not intrude upon your evening by my visit.
Allow me to present my good lady and my daughter, Miss Jane.
I am honored.
Won't you be seated, Mr. Collins?
Thank you.
I trust you had a pleasant journey.
Very pleasant, thank you. I look forward to the pleasure of meeting your other daughters, for I have heard much of their beauty.
Oh, how nice of you to say so.
In the case of Miss Jane, fame has fallen short of the truth.
Indeed, that is what everybody says.
I do not doubt you will see them all well disposed of in marriage.
You are very kind, I am sure, and I hope with all my heart it may be so, else they will be destitute enough. Things are settled so oddly.
My dear, let's not go into that.
You perhaps the entail of this estate.
I do indeed. The most grievous affair to my poor girls, you must confess.
Quite right. And I was thinking...
Not that I mean to find fault with you.
I am very sensible, madam, of the hardship to my fair cousins, and and let me assure you, I come prepared to admire them. At present, even more.
Very kind.
Our cousin, Mr. Collins. My second daughter, Miss Elizabeth.
I am delighted to make
Thank you. Mamma, shall Jane and I oblige you by making sure Mr. Collins' room is in readiness?
I wish you would, my dear.
As I said, I come prepared to admire your daughters. My patroness, Lady Catherine de Bourgh, has condescended to advise me that a young clergyman such as myself needs a wife.
Oh, Mr. Collins!
And it is my hope that a mistress for my home may be found here at Longbourn.
So, that is what you meant by making amends.
It is, my dear sir.
What a compliment to our girls, Mr. Bennet. Now, as to my younger daughters, I can't take it upon me to say, but I don't know of any prepossession.
And as for Miss Jane,
I feel it incumbent upon me to hint that Miss Jane is likely to be soon engaged.
I see. In point of seniority, Miss Elizabeth is next.
Oh, she's quite unattached.
Very charming young lady. I am cautious of appearing forward and precipitate. I will say no more at the present time, but perhaps when we are better acquainted.
My dear Mr. Collins!
Since I am assured my welcome is cordial, I shall instruct your man to bring in my bags.
Did you hear what he said, Mr. Bennet? He wants to marry one of our girls!
I still have my hearing.
Since Mr. Bingley is so taken with Jane, Elizabeth would be the perfect choice for Mr. Collins.
Madam, you are as silly as your daughters.
I'm astonished you would find your own children silly. They are all of them very clever.
You must excuse me if I differ about the youngest three.
Well, you can't expect them all to have the sense of their mother. I can't believe it. Two of my daughters practically married.
Your move, Mr. Collins.
Oh, I was lost in thought.
Lost. An excellent choice of words. Your move, Mr. Collins.
Aren't these flowers beautiful, Mr. Collins?
Quite possible for a small garden. My own humble abode is separated only by a lane from Lady Catherine's beautiful estate, where there is a veritable profusion of bloom.
I dare say Lady Catherine is a very agreeable woman.
She is thought to be proud by many, but I have never seen anything but affability in her.
Your move, Mr. Collins.
I think you said she is a widow. Has she any family?
One daughter.
Oh, what sort of young lady is she? Is she handsome?
Your move.
A most charming young lady indeed, but unfortunately of sickly constitution.
Has she been presented in court?
Her indifferent state of health sadly prevents that. As I told Lady Catherine, the British court is deprived of its brightest ornament.
Your move.
Her ladyship seemed pleased with the idea.
You observe, Mr. Collins, I have your last king in the corner.
Ah, yes, a trivial game.
If you shall excuse me, Mr. Collins, I shall spend a little time in the library.
I thought, perhaps, your daughters would gather in here this morning while I read aloud from this elevating volume. Fordyce's sermons.
How interesting. I'm sure the girls would have loved it, but they are out. Jane, as you know, is still visiting at Netherfield.
Mr. Bingley has taken quite an interest.
How happy I would be, Mr. Collins, when all of my daughters are well settled.
May I hope, madam, to have a word with Miss Elizabeth this morning?
Oh, dear me, yes, certainly. I'm sure Lizzie would be very happy.
In that case, would you let me know when Miss Elizabeth returns?
I shall speak to her My dear!
Go away!
How can you understand my feelings, Mr. Bennet? You are not a mother!
Good morning, Mrs. Bennet.
Hello, Charlotte.
I promised Papa I'd bake some mince pies, and nothing would do it. I tried myself in your creases.
Cook will be flattered. Lizzie, Mr. Collins wishes to speak to you. He's in the garden.
A little fresh air will do him good.
I insist that you speak with him immediately.
Yes, Mama.
I shall tell cook to have the recipe ready for you, Charlotte.
Don't hurry away, Charlotte. I want to talk to you about the ball at Netherfield. Everyone is saying how much attention Mr. Bingley paid to Jane, but it did seem as if he admired her. Is Jane happy? Oh, very happy. But you know how she is. So composed that a man can never guess her real feelings. It's a mistake for a woman to conceal her affection with too much skill. Mr. Bingley likes her sister undoubtedly, but he may never do more than like her if she doesn't encourage him. And what she does encourage him, as much as her nature will allow. If a woman is partial to him, he must find it out. In 9 cases out of 10, a woman had better show more affection than she feels. The time to fall in love is after she is married, not Jane. Her love has no design. You didn't first of all at the ball, Lizzie. That hateful Mr. Darcy. I overheard him talking about you. You did? Oh, Lizzie! Mr. Bingley suggested that he asked me to dance. Our fine Mr. Darcy said, she is tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. Poor Eliza, to be only just tolerable. Indeed, if you were to like me, I should be quite put out. Hello, Mary. Greeting again.
Hello, Charlotte.
In a way, Mr. Darcy's pride is understandable. A fine young man with family, fortune, and everything in his life. I can forgive his pride. He got mortified mine.
Pride is a very common feeling, I believe. But, although I've ever read, I'm convinced that human nature is particularly prone to it. Indeed, there are few of us who do not cherish a feeling of self-complacency on the score of some quality or other, real or imaginary.
Oh, yes indeed. I must get the recipe before I go.
Vanity and pride are different things, though the words are often synonymous. A person may be proud without being vain.
I'll see you again before I leave. Please do.
Pride relates more to our opinion of ourselves. Vanity to what we have others think of us.
I know you are clever, Mary.
The idle chatter of my younger sisters has no appeal for me. We met Mr. Wickham at the library, and he offered to escort us home.
You can imagine how all the other girls envied us.
La, what fun to have everybody together.
I fear Miss Elizabeth does not envy you overmuch. In vain I entreated her to take the walk with me.
Indeed, sir, I have not refused you from intent, but only because I was occupied at the time.
I am never too busy to go walking with a handsome man in a red coat. How often is she met? Ma loves a bit of gossip.
Won't you sit down, Mr. Wickham?
Thank you. No, I must be on my way.
We missed you at the Netherfield ball.
Unfortunately, business in the city took me away just at that time.
I understand.
Not that I have any wish to avoid Mr. Darcy. Just the other way around.
Oh, of course. I have a mind to walk with you a little way since you teased me about refusing my invitation. We expect Jane back from Netherfield this morning, and I promised Mama I would speak with my cousin, Mr. Collins.
You can do that later.
Very much later. He has recently been given a parish by Lady Catherine de Bourgh, and can talk of little else.
Her daughter, Mrs. Berg, have a very large fortune. It is believed that she and Mr. Darcy will marry someday.
Well, I'm pleased to hear it. Of what I've heard of Lady Catherine, a daughter of hers is not likely to make any man happy.
Not likely.
Mary is practicing again. Let's take a shortcut through the garden.
Jane is back from Netherfield. Mr. Bingley, his sister, Mr. Darcy.
I will see her after the guests are gone.
hope she's occupied. We can't stay long. Mamma wants to thank you for your kindness to me. Jane Bennet is really a very sweet girl.
She's all of that.
I wish with all my heart that you were well settled, but with such a mother and such low connections, I'm afraid there's no chance of it.
If she had no connections, I don't think one jot less of her.
Nevertheless, how can she expect to marry a man of any consideration in the world?
You're right, Mr. Darcy. Jane was quite a success to our ball, but I observed that Elizabeth Bennet was not very much of an attraction to you.
And why do you say that?
You made no effort to dance with her.
I detest dancing.
Why so thoughtful, Mr. Darcy?
No reason at all.
This must be serious.
I was just thinking of the very great pleasure which a pair of fine eyes in the face of a pretty woman can bestow.
Oh, Mr. Darcy, what lady has the credit of inspiring such reflection?
Miss Elizabeth Bennet.
I am astonished. When am I to wish you joy?
A lady's imagination is very wondrous. It drops from admiration to love and from love to matrimony in a moment.
You will have a charming mother-in-law.
You know I'm not serious.
I hope you give your mother-in-law a few hints as to the advantages of holding her tongue. And if you can, do cure the younger girls of running after the officers. Oh, which one is responsible for that?
I cannot say.
My dear Miss Bingley, my dear sirs, how extremely kind you've been to Jane.
The kindness was on Miss Jane's side.
We have found her very pleasant company. Thank you. Are you ready to return now, Charles?
So soon?
Jane, my love, didn't Mr. Bingley want to express a wish to see our garden?
But, Mamma,
I did. Are you sure it was Miss Jane?
Of course she will. Miss Bingley and Mr. Darcy and I will have a nice little chat.
do you mind if I see the garden too?
By all means.
Late living, Charles.
And you, Mr. Darcy?
Thank you. I shall remain here.
A great reader, Mr. Darcy?
Yes, madam.
Quite a pleasant day, is it not?
It was.
Are you remaining long at Netherfield?
I cannot say.
If you will excuse me, Mr. Darcy, I shall leave you to your reading.
Certainly, madam.
Good afternoon, Mr. Darcy.
Good afternoon, Miss Elizabeth. We have brought Miss Jane home.
I have just seen her. I am sure Jane had a most delightful time.
Quite.
It is your turn to say something now, Mr. Darcy. You might make some remark about the weather.
Consider it made.
One must speak a little, you know.
And in some cases, the less said, the better.
Nevertheless, I shall introduce the next topic. I have just had a short walk with a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Wickham.
Mr. Wickham has a way of making friends. Whether or not he be equally capable of retaining them is less certain.
He has been so unlucky as to lose your friendship, Mr. Darcy, and through no fault of his own.
Miss Bennet, do not judge my character when he knows a little about me.
I have seen and heard enough,
All my life, I have tried to avoid weakness of any kind.
such as vanity and pride.
Vanity is a weakness indeed, but pride, that is a different matter.
And I suppose you never allow yourself to be blinded by prejudice.
I should hope not. Do you, Miss Elizabeth?
I? Certainly not.
Let us drop the subject for the moment.
If I'm ever to get the mince pies baked, I really must be on my way.
Miss Lucas.
How nice to see you again, Mr. Darcy.
Charlotte is going home to do some baking. My girls are never allowed in the kitchen. But I'm sure your dear mother knows what's best for you, Charlotte.
Charlotte is very clever, and I envy her. Thank you, dear Lizzie. Goodbye, Mrs. Bennet. And you, Mr. Darcy.
Shall we, Miss Leaf, so soon?
We hope you will come again. Thank you.
You may depend on it.
Dear Jane has so enjoyed her visit.
We enjoy having her.
Thank you for driving Jane home.
We hope to see you again soon.
My dear, the way he smiled at you.
Mama.
You may tell Mama all about it. Oh, Lizzie, have you spoken yet to Mr. Collins?
Not yet.
Then do it at once. He's there waiting to speak with you.
I haven't seen him.
He's in the garden.
I have been waiting. I fear, Mrs. Bennet, that you forgot my request.
Indeed not. I was but this minute reminding Lizzie that you wish to speak with her. Come, Jane.
Dear Mama, please, don't go. I beg of you to stay. Mr. Collins must excuse me. He can have nothing to say to me that anybody need not hear.
Nonsense, Lizzie. Stay where you are.
Please, Mama.
Such modesty.
Lizzie, I insist upon your staying here and hearing Mr. Collins.
Believe me, my dear Elizabeth, your modesty and your other perfections. You would have been less amiable in my eyes had there not been this little unwillingness.
Oh,
Allow me to assure you that I have your respected mother's permission for this address.
you have?
Almost as soon as I entered this house, I singled you out as the companion of my future life. But before I let my feelings run away with me, I must state my reasons for coming here expressly to select a wife. First, I believe it is the right thing for a clergyman to set the example of matrimony in his parish. Second, that it will add greatly to my happiness. And thirdly, that is the particular advice and recommendation of my patroness, Lady Catherine de Bourgh, who twice has condescended to give me her opinion, unasked. She believes that the wife I choose should be a gentleman, an active, useful sort of person, not front up high, but able to make a small income go a long ways. I am well aware that £1,000 with 4% is all that will be yours when your mother dies. But I assure you, I never reproach you on that score. And now, nothing remains for me but to prove to you the violence of my actions.
You are too hasty. I thank you for your generous offer, but I must decline it.
Come, I know. It is usual for a young lady to act embarrassed and unwilling when all the time the heart is fluttering with wild panic.
You are a hard man to discourage.
I shall leave you to the altar ere long.
But I am perfectly serious in my refusal. You could not make me happy, and I'm the last woman in the world who could ever make you so.
Dear Elizabeth!
Were you friendly to Catherine to know me, I am sure I would be, in every respect, unqualified for the situation.
Ah, Miss Elizabeth, it is your wish to increase my love by suspense, such as most elegant females do. I beg you, hold me off no longer. Confess your love for me.
Read Mr. Collins. Can I speak any plainer? I am no elegant female out to peg you. I am a rational creature speaking the truth from my heart.
You are charming, Miss Elizabeth. Most adorable creatures be mine.
Please, Mr. Collins, you are mad, quite mad.
Miss Elizabeth.
Congratulations, dear Belle. I am overwhelmed with happiness, my dear Mr. Collins. Lizzie, my darling child.
Spare so congratulations, Mamma. I have declined Mr. Collins's generous offer.
Lizzie, come back here at once. Oh, depend on it, she will be brought to reason.
She seems very definite.
She was a very headstrong, foolish girl.
Headstrong. Foolish.
She takes after her father in that respect. But depend on it, I will bring the stubborn girl to reason.
Stubborn too. Perhaps if she has such defects of temper, it would be better not to force her into accepting me.
Oh, Mr. Collins! You misunderstand me. Lizzie's only headstrong in such matters as these, and in everything else she is a sweet-natured girl as ever lived.
Some other time, my dear Mrs. Bennet.
Oh. Mr. Bennet! Mr. Bennet!
talking about?
And Lizzie says she will not have Mr. Collins. And Mr. Collins begins to say that he will not have Lizzie.
Where is Elizabeth?
In the garden.
Elizabeth, come here directly.
Tell her that you insist upon her accepting it. Yes, Father.
I understand Mr. Collins has made you an offer of marriage.
He has. I insist upon her accepting it, or I will never see her again.
An unhappy alternative is before you, Elizabeth. From this day on, you must be a stranger to one of your parents. Your mother will never see you again if you do not marry Mr. Collins. And I will never see you again if you do.
Mr. Collins has been acting so strangely since he returned from Lady Lucas's yesterday. I fear Charlotte is setting her cap for him.
Charlotte is not artful.
She is 27 and must be feeling quite desperate. Dear me, if my own daughters do not appreciate my efforts. Ah, here she comes now, looking as unconcerned as a person may be.
Please, Mamma, don't continue to plague Lizzie.
I tell you, Miss Lizzie, if you take it into your head to go on refusing every offer of marriage in this way, you will never get a husband. Do I seem worried? I will not be able to keep you and your father as dead.
Don't you think you have talked about it enough? If Lizzie does not care for Mr. Collins, then that's the end of it.
I shan't say another word. But if Charlotte Lucas marries Mr. Collins, we shall have a roof over our heads and your poor father dies.
Please, Mamma.
At least I may console myself that you have found favor with Mr. Bingley. Do you think he will declare himself soon? I have done everything I can to hurry him along.
Now, Mamma, you're embarrassing Jane.
A note has just been delivered from Netherfield. For me.
For Miss Jane. Thank you, Lucy.
Read it loud, Jane. It is from Miss Bingley, I dare say. What elegant paper she uses!
It is from Miss Bingley. You will excuse me. I shall retire to my room.
Without reading the note?
Jane, is it bad news?
It is surprising news.
Oh, a surprise. Come, tell us!
The Bingleys have taken leave of Netherfield and are on their way to town.
They have gone.
Without any intention of coming back again. Mr. Darcy's remaining close to house for his friend.
Oh, I can't believe it.
Seems to have been a very sudden decision.
Mr. Bingley said he makes up his mind in a hurry, but no, Jane, it can't be true.
This is Mr. Darcy's doing, I'll warrant.
But why should he interfere?
If your nose wasn't always buried in a book, you would realize how proud he is. He doesn't consider our Jane rich or grand enough for Mr. Bingley.
That odious Mr. Darcy.
Caroline says she hopes we may meet again at some future time. Regrets that they could not call to bid me farewell.
Oh, does she?
Hence there is an attachment between Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy's young sister.
It can't be true. No one who has seen you two together can doubt his affection for you. That too is Mr. Darcy's plan, to wed his sister to Mr. Bingley.
Oh, my poor dear Jane. Come upstairs to your room and I will put cold compresses on your forehead.
Please, Mamma, I'd rather be alone.
Perhaps I could console with some of my extracts.
Believe me, Mr. Darcy is at the back of this.
He wouldn't dare.
He has. He and Miss Bingley between them. cheerful, Lydia.
She has nothing to cry about.
There. Perhaps your father will let us all go to Brighton for the summer.
Papa would never agree. Now come, Lydia, out with the news you're bursting with.
Colonel Forster's wife has invited me to go with her on a visit.
Why, Lydia, has she really?
She said a little sea air is just what I needed.
It would do me a great deal of good, too.
But it was me she invited.
I can't see why Mrs. Forster shouldn't ask me as well as Lydia. I'm 2 years older.
Come, dry your eyes and help me look over my clothes. I shall need at least 2 new bonnets.
Nobody ever asked me anywhere.
Your new blue bonnet will be very elegant for balls, but we must put a little more lace on it.
It's all that's due about this time.
The regiment has been ordered to Brighton.
And Mrs. Foster has invited Lydia to visit for a while. And I must have just yards and yards of lace.
I don't remember hearing anyone ask my permission for this trip.
Oh, Papa, please don't let her go.
Why not?
Mrs. Forster is so young for a chaperone, and there'll be so many offices at Brighton.
Lydia will never be happy until she's made a complete spectacle of herself in some place or other. And we can't expect her to do it with so little expense or inconvenience to her own family as under the present circumstances.
But her manner is so unguarded and imprudent.
I think you exaggerate, my dear. Foolish she undoubtedly is, but scarcely out of hand.
She's already a determined little flirt. Oh, Papa, I'm asking this for her own good.
We shall have no peace at Baltimore if she doesn't go. Colonel Forster is a sensible man, and will keep her out of any real mischief.
I sincerely hope so.
I'll go give her my consent, so she doesn't bother me by asking for it later.
Charlotte and Mr. Collins. What are you doing in the garden?
Miss Charlotte kindly consented to return with me. I have been calling on Sir William and Lady Lucas.
I have something very important to tell you, Eliza. I hope it is good news. We've had so much of the other kind.
May I hope to speak with Mr. Bennett?
Papa went that way a moment ago.
Thank you.
How kind of you, Charlotte, to pass a little time with Mr. Collins. It keeps him in a good humor, and I'm more obliged to you than I can say.
Why should I not? Mr. Collins and I are engaged to be married.
Engaged to Mr. Collins? Charlotte, impossible.
Not at all.
I'm sorry. I sincerely do hope you will be happy.
I am not unaware, Lizzie, that Mr. Collins asked you first to marry him.
Dear Charlotte, he only did it out of duty, I'm sure.
I'm not romantic, you know. I asked only a comfortable home, and I'm convinced that my chance of happiness with Mr. Collins is as good as most people can hope for.
Of course. Oh, Charlotte, I sincerely do hope you will be happy.
Will you come and visit me after I'm married?
Promise me, Elizabeth. I promise.
Thank you. I must carry your mother taste, please.
Charlotte, how nice to see you. This bonnet is quite practical, but Mama and I are going shopping for some more and some new gowns. She has persuaded Jane to come along. Tell them I'll be waiting out here.
Lydia tells me you're going shopping.
I must do something.
You know how I feel for you.
Mamma is determined now when I pay a visit to Aunt Gardner in London.
Why don't you? The change would do you a world of good.
But Mamma's plan is that I should write to Caroline Bingley from there. My mother would call on me.
Oh, how like Mamma.
Lizzie, what am I to do? My heart is broken.
Dear Jane.
I'll forget him soon. We'll be as we were before. You doubt me. Indeed, you have no reason. He may live in my memory, that is all.
Dear Jane, you're too good. I don't know what to say to you. I feel as if I've never done you justice or loved you as you deserve.
No.
You used to think the world was as good as you are. But the more I see of the world, the more I'm dissatisfied with it. And now Charlotte's engagement? It's unaccountable.
No, Lizzie. Remember that Charlotte is one of a large family but little fortune. She may feel something like esteem and regard for her
I
cousin.
can't bring myself to believe that. Mr. Collins is a narrow-minded, silly man, and Charlotte knows that as well as we do.
Indeed, Mr. Bennet, it is very hard to think that Charlotte Lucas should ever be mistress of this house.
Lydia is waiting in the garden. Come on.
Come, Jane. Mind, I'll be forced to make way for Charlotte Lucas, and live to see her take my place here.
My dear, let's not give way to such gloomy thoughts. Let us hope for better things. Let us flatter ourselves that I may outlive you. So, my dear, I find your sister Jane is crossed in love.
Don't you take anything seriously?
I discovered a long time ago that the only way for a mere man to survive in a household of women is to see the amusing side of everything.
You mean you're not laughing at Jane?
No, my dear, I'm not. But it's a comfort to think that whatever may befall any of you, you have an affectionate mother who will always make the most of it.
Mr. Flint for you, Darcy.
Show him in.
Yes, Miss Elizabeth.
Miss Elizabeth, I'm glad to find you alone.
Indeed, Mr. Darcy. Your friends left Netherfield quite suddenly.
I have seen to the closing of the household.
I understand that your friend Mr. Bingley is not likely to return again.
It is probable he may spend very little of his time there in the future.
Indeed.
I have struggled in vain. It will not do. My feelings will not be oppressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you.
Mr. Darcy!
My attachment is so strong that in spite of all my endeavors, I find it impossible to conquer my feelings for you.
You mean you have tried not to love me, Mr. Darcy?
I realize that there is a great difference in our connections, and that there are many great disadvantages into marrying into such a family as yours. Nonetheless, I hope you may accept my hand.
How dare you speak of my family that way?
It's because I love you, Miss Elizabeth, that I dare to speak at all, that I dare to offend the society of which I am a part.
You are insufferable, Mr. Darcy. To speak of love and offense in the same breath.
And this is all the reply, which I may expect.
It is more than you deserve. Do you think I would marry any man who liked me against his will and against his reason? Do you think any consideration would have tempted me to accept the man who's been the means of ruining the happiness of my sister?
I do not understand you.
You dare not understand me, Mr. Darcy. Can you deny that you have been the means of separating Jane and Mr. Bingley?
I
Can you deny that you have done it?
I have no wish to deny that I did everything in my power to separate Mr. Bingley from your sister. Toward him I've been kinder than towards myself.
They love each other, Mr. Darcy. What right do you have to take their happiness into your hands? And you speak of love. What can you know of love?
And this is your opinion now.
It is.
I thank you for explaining so fully. My faults, according to this calculation, are heavy indeed.
They are.
But perhaps these offences might have been overlooked had not your pride been
My
met.
pride?
Was it not pride, Miss Elizabeth, that prohibited you from accepting my honest confession of the reasons why I could not ask you sooner to be my wife?
You could not have made me the offer of your hand in any possible way that would have tempted me to accept it. You're the last man in the world whom I could ever be prevailed upon to marry. It is not alone your unfeeling disregard for Jane's happiness. I know you also speak false in the obligations of which family loyalty imposed on you.
You refer perhaps to Mr. Wickham.
I do.
Then forgive me for taking up so much of your time. And accept my best wishes for your happiness.
Why doesn't she come? Seems an age since Liz went to Charlotte. 6 whole weeks. Imagine having to listen to Mr. Collins that long. In my opinion, Mr. Collins has some very erudite thoughts.
Mama will never quite forgive Liz for not marrying him.
Marriage is not the only end in life.
It's the best beginning that I know of. I wish I were a bride with Lydia.
Lydia is turning out to be a silly, empty-headed flirt.
But what a time she must be having. Mr. Wickham is escorting her to all the balls, and all I do is watch for other people to come home.
Now, Jane, just rest on the settee for a few minutes. You must not overexert yourself.
Mamma, I am not an invalid.
There's not a spot of colour in your cheeks since you were back from London. I don't know what your Aunt Gardner was thinking of to let you get so run down.
Aunt Gardner was very kind. I feel perfectly fit. Really, I do. Men, as some wise person once observed, are at the bottom of all our trouble. Or, did he say women?
Has the postman come yet, Kitty? It's quite some time since I had a letter from Lydia.
Lydia was very well, Mama, according to my last letter. Here comes Papa's carriage now.
I shall get no more reading done this afternoon.
No doubt Lizzie has told your father all the news before we even get a whisper of it.
There can't be much news from a visit to Mr. and Mrs. Collins.
Oh, Mamma!
And dear Jane. And Kitty. And Mary. How good it is to be home.
I'm glad you've come back, Lizzie.
Dear me, so are we all. You must tell us the news.
How does Charlotte look? Does she seem happy?
Let me catch my breath first.
The presence of a mere man may not still the clatter of female tongues, but I think you'll talk more freely without me.
Jane, you look tired.
It's nothing. I had a most delightful time in London.
Did Mr. Bingley call to see you?
He was very busy. His sister Caroline called.
Once. 1 15-minute call.
But it's your news we are anxious to hear.
Did you see any good-looking men to flirt with?
Charlotte seems quite happy, and they live comfortably.
Well, I only hope it will last. What sort of table do they keep? Charlotte is an excellent manager, I dare say.
She is.
I suppose they often spoke of having Longbourn when your father is dead.
They never mentioned it before me.
Need we go into that again, Mamma?
I'll not say another word. Besides, we have taxed you long enough, Jane. It's time you were out in the sun for a little while.
I much prefer to remain in here and talk with Lizzie.
Oh, nonsense. You must get the little colour back in your cheeks.
You are quite right, Mamma.
Kitty, go upstairs with Mary and see if you can get a little studying done. I shall see to Jane's chair.
Yes, Mamma. Lizzie, tell me everything. Did you see Mr. Darcy?
Quite often. At Lady Catherine's.
Did he make any reference to that strange proposal of his?
None at all. But he seemed to put himself out to be more agreeable.
Lizzie, do you really think you did right?
You don't blame me for refusing him?
No. But to be thwarted in love is a terrible thing.
Dear Jane, always thinking of someone else. Come, tell me about your trip to London.
Caroline called only once. I confess I've been entirely deceived in her regard for me.
I suspected as much.
She mentioned that Mr. Bingley is partial to Miss Darcy. But he expects me announcing any day.
No, Jane, it can't be true. He loved you, I'm sure of it.
Quite resigned to it now. At least I tried to be. I still love him, Lizzie. Can't help it.
I've moved your chair into the sun, Jane. And Lottie has fixed it with pillows. Come.
Yes, Mamma.
Bring that light woolen shawl for your shoulders and maybe a bit of a draught.
I left it upstairs.
Lizzie will get it for you.
Mamma, I will not be treated as an invalid.
Well now, Lizzie, what is your opinion of this sad business of Jane's?
I'm worried about her health.
For my part, I'm determined never to speak of Mr. Bingley again to anyone. He's a very undeserving young man. I don't suppose there's the least chance in the world of her ever getting him now.
I think not.
I am sure Jane will die of a broken heart. And then he will be sorry for what he has done.
Lady Lucas, madam.
Show her in. She has come to boast again about Charlotte's marriage.
She probably wants to hear of Charlotte's as well.
Every time she comes to call, I can see her looking the place over. I know she's wondering just when Mr. Bennet is going to die, till Charlotte can win.
Oh, Elizabeth, I'm so glad to see you home again. How did you leave my dear Charlotte and her good husband?
In the best of health. They send their kindest regards.
It is such a comfort having a daughter well married. You can't know how happy I am.
What is keeping Jane?
Oh, what a pity that young Mr. Bingley doesn't return. Lydia's enjoying herself at Brighton, I trust.
Indeed, yes.
How nice to see you, Lady Lucas.
Jane, you're looking so pale.
It is nothing. A slight indisposition.
I do hope Lydia's not seeing too much of Mr. Wickham at Brighton. I hear he left gaming debts of considerable amount behind him at Meryton.
Gaming debts.
His pleasant countenance seems to have deceived a great many of people. They say he's indebted to every tradesman in the place.
Can this be true? I had no idea of it.
Dear me, neither had I.
Oh, people at Meryton have all turned against him now. There was a time when they once thought Mr. Wickham ill-used by Mr. Darcy.
You mean he has told it generally that he has cheated Mr. Darcy out of his inheritance?
My dear, everyone knows of it.
But I thought, he said not for the world would he injure Mr. Darcy's reputation.
That seems exactly the method he used to ruin it.
Mr. Wickham's deceived us, Lizzie.
I have it on good authority that Mr. Darcy refused him a living in the church based on his unreliable character.
Oh, I can scarcely believe it.
I assure you it is the truth. Thank you for your kind messages from Charlotte.
You are most welcome.
What would meet my care, Mrs. Bennet? The fresh air may do you some good.
Dear me, yes. My nerves are all flutter.
Jane, how could I have accused Mr. Darcy ill-used by Mr. Wickham when I didn't know all the facts?
You were so wrong about him, Lizzie. Shamed.
I who prided myself a clever judge of character.
Lizzie, if I didn't know that you dislike him so much, I would almost say that you're in love with him.
In love with Mr. Darcy.
Never. It is possible to deceive one's heart for a little while.
He separated you from Mr. Bingley. I will never forgive him that.
Mama will be upset if I don't go outside. mean to offend you, Lizzie.
You could never do that, dear Jane.
Did you notice how Lady Lucas looked at the settee? No doubt she plans to advise Charlotte to recover it.
You imagine things, Mamma.
Before your nerves give way over trifles, madam, I have some news of real import. An express from Colonel Forster at Brighton.
From Lydia?
She's gone off with Mr. Wickham.
Lydia married! How happy I am!
Wait, my dear. From a note that Lydia left, it is evident she expected to be married at once. But from what Colonel Forster has been able to find out, no marriage has taken place.
No marriage? No marriage!
What is it? Lydia has eloped with Mr. Wickham, though it seems he has no intentions of marrying her.
Poor Lydia. Poor Mamma.
Colonel Forster believes they're headed for London. I will start for there at once. Your Uncle Gardner, maybe it will help me trace them.
Don't cry, Mamma, please.
How can the Forsters let her out of their sight?
No one could have watched Lydia all the time, Mamma.
And here is Mr. Bennet going away. And I know he will find Wickham. And then he shall be killed. And we shall be turned out. And all because he would not marry Mr. Garland.
Mom, you must lie down in your room.
The Collinses will turn us out of there before your father is cold in his grave.
Mr. Darcy came to see you. Mr. Darcy? We'll show him in.
Miss Elizabeth,
How do you do, Mr. Darcy? I'm surprised to see you.
you would also be a little happy to see me, Miss Elizabeth.
Happy? Oh, Mr. Darcy, I find it hard to be happy.
What is the matter, Miss Elizabeth?
Oh, Mr. Darcy!
Shall I get you a glass of wine?
Please, no. There was nothing. I am only distressed about some dreadful news.
Try to calm yourself, Miss Elizabeth. I was on my way to London for my visit to Lady Catherine. How fortunate it is that I stopped in Henry.
It is.
If you will let me be of some service to you.
No one can do much for us now. Lydia has run away, has thrown herself into the power of Mr. Wickham. You know him too well to doubt the rest.
Wickham?
She has no money, no connections, nothing that can tempt him to marry her.
And now you know his true character.
Yes. Oh, Mr. Darcy, how we have wronged you in regard to him.
I am grieved. I'm shocked. But it is certain, absolutely certain.
Yes.
And what is being done to recover her?
My father's gone to London, but nothing can be done. We are a disgrace.
And truly, it is, Miss Elizabeth.
Such humiliation. No one will speak to us again.
I wish I could do or say something to ease you under distress.
Lydia is lost forever.
Do not think about her, Miss Elizabeth. Now, Miss Aston, excuse me.
You're going?
To London, immediately.
Will you ever forgive me, Mr. Darcy, for thinking ill of you?
I will try.
Is your mother any better this morning?
Very little. She declares over and over again that her heart is broken.
I blame myself for this, but I can find no trace of Lydia or Wickham in London.
You mustn't be too severe on yourself, Papa.
No, my dear. For once in my life, let me feel that I have been to blame. I should have taken your advice and never let Lydia go to Brighton.
Well, it's too late for that now.
Jane has persuaded Mamma to go downstairs for a while.
Is she dressing?
Yes, although she declares she is too weak to stand.
Your mother knows how to give such elegance to misfortune. Maybe I will do the same. Perhaps when Kitty runs away.
I'm not going to run away, Papa. If I should go to Brighton, I'd behave much better than Lydia.
You go to Brighton. No, my dear, I have at least learned to be cautious. and you will feel the effects of it. Well, 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 do not make yourself unhappy. If you are a good girl for the next 10 years, I will take you to the theater at the end of that.
Dreadful stage I am in. Such trembling, such flutterings all over me.
You must try to think of something else, Mamma.
Such spasms in my side. Oh, and pains in my head. Such beatings in my heart. That I can get no rest night or day.
Tears and tears.
If there are any more tears to be shed, we shall all float away.
This is the most unfortunate affair, and will probably be much talked about.
Oh, Lydia, Lydia.
We must stem the tide of malice, and pour into the wounded bosoms of each other the balm of sisterly consolation.
Oh.
Now, Mamma, unhappy as the event must be for Lydia, we must not shrink from the useful lesson that loss of virtue in a female is irretrievable.
Oh.
You had better get some fresh air.
A woman's reputation is no less brittle than it is beautiful.
And please,
she cannot be too guarded from her behavior till the undeserving respect. Would you have some tea, Mamma?
Tea! My heart is broken. To think your father left London without finding a trace of them.
We must hope for the best.
Who's to find Wickham and make him marry her now? Tell cook to make the tea strong, plenty of sugar.
I am always It's nice and hot, Madame. Will do you good.
It will take more than tea to comfort me now.
what is it, Lucy? I thought you might like to know that Netherfield is occupied again. What? So the housekeeper informed me. Mr. Bingley is expected back this morning. Thank you, Lucy.
So, Mr. Bingley is returning. Did you hear that, Jane? Not that I care about it, though. Enough it was, and I'm sure I never want to see him again.
Your tea is getting cold, Mamma.
Nonetheless, he is very welcome to come to Netherfield if he likes. And who knows what may happen.
Perhaps it isn't sweet enough. Shall I ring for Lottie?
Of course, we agreed long ago never to mention his name. It is quite certain he is coming.
Surely Mr. Bingley can return to his house without all the speculation.
As soon as he arrives, my dear, your father must wait on him.
Papa shall do nothing of the kind.
Shall we not leave the initiative to Mr. Bingley?
What ungrateful daughters I have! Never poor mother more put upon.
I am sorry to distress you, Mamma, but I will not allow myself to be forced upon Mr. Bingley again. If he wants my society, let him seek it.
All this excitement has been too much for my poor strength.
Shall I help you to your room, Mamma?
Don't bother. I must bear all of my suffering alone.
I assure you, Elizabeth, news does not affect me without the pleasure or pain.
I'm sorry that he comes at all.
I can hardly bear to hear him perpetually talked about. Mamma means well, but she doesn't know. No one can know.
I wish I could see some happiness for the both of us.
Why, Lizzie, what's wrong?
I find I can't get him out of my mind for even a moment.
Mr. Darcy?
But he no longer cares for me. And I don't know whether I love or hate him more.
Lizzie, how unfortunate we all seem to be.
James, Lizzie, congratulate me! I'm married!
Lydia.
Allow me to present Mrs. Wickham.
Mama, Papa! Everybody come quick! Here I am!
We didn't know. Paul went to London.
La, it was not to be expected he could find us. I'm married, Mama!
Your dutiful son, madame. And yours, sir?
My dear, dear Lydia, married at 16! And dear Wickham, too!
We were married just a short time ago!
Your wedding clothes. You must see about them directly. My dear, you must decide at once just how much you will give them.
before I came back again. Though I thought it would be very good fun if I was.
I'm glad you find pleasure in the situation. Wickham, I would like to have a word with you.
What's that?
Do the people hereabouts know I'm married?
How can they when we ourselves have just found out?
I was afraid there might not. We passed Lady Lucas's carriage, and I was determined she should know about it. So I took off my glove and let my hand rest on the side of our carriage so that she might see my ring.
But dear, you didn't.
And then I bowed and smiled like anything.
How could you? Your bonnet is the prettiest I've ever seen.
The color is far too gay.
I must tell Lucy to prepare the south chamber for our bride and groom.
I'm going with you. I want to see Lucy's face when she hears the news.
Mary, I may find you useful too.
La, I must tell Mama about my wedding.
Hope it passed off well.
Aren't you curious to know how it was managed?
No.
La, you are both so strange, but I must tell you how it went off. My aunt and uncle and I went together to the church, and Mr. Wickham and Mr. Darcy met us there.
Mr. Darcy.
Oh, yes. He was the one who found us. La was I surprised when he walked in.
Mr. Darcy found you?
Gracious me. He warned me not to say a word about it. But then, the cat's out of the bag, so I may as well go on.
Whatever did Mr. Darcy do?
Oh, he settled dear Wickham's debts here and there. A few £1,000 or so.
Oh.
And then he very kindly settled £1,000 on me and purchased a commission for my dear Wickham in Newcastle.
Newcastle? You'll be living quite far from us.
But you must all come visit me, and I shall arrange balls for you. I shall ask Mama at once.
That Mr. Darcy should have done all of this for our family. The humiliation is almost more than I can bear.
He has done it for you, Lizzie.
I can't bring myself to believe that.
You must.
I am humble, but I am proud of him.
I'm afraid I interrupt sisterly confidences.
You do.
But it does not follow that the interruption must be unwelcome.
I should be sorry indeed if it were. We were always good friends, and now we are better.
I understand you saw something of Mr. Darcy in town.
I did. He is in good health and very busy.
Perhaps preparing for his marriage with Mr. Burke.
I should not be surprised. His aunt has her heart set on announcing that engagement.
I am sure I wish him every happiness.
What Wickham has done in the past is over. Let us try to forget it.
Now, Mary, sit down and write the items as I tell you.
Yes, Mama.
You want to have calico,
I wish I were ordering my wedding clothes.
muslin, let me see, a cambric.
Mr. Charles Bingley, madam.
Gracious me so soon. Show him in.
Yes, madam.
Well, the pity you were not wearing your new frock, Jane, but you're looking quite well. Catherine, stop fretting, greet him with a smile. Mary, Lizzie, your very best manners.
I hope you have no objections, madame, to this early call.
Objections? Oh, dear me, no, none at all. Won't you be seated, my dear Mr. Bingley?
Thank you.
It is a long time since you went away.
Very long.
I began to be afraid you would never come back again.
Did you have a pleasant trip back from London, Mr. Bingley?
Very pleasant.
So much has happened since you went away. Charlotte Lucas is married and settled, as is my daughter, Lydia.
Allow me to offer my congratulations to them both.
Thank you. It's a wonderful thing to have a daughter well married. Mr. Bingley, you must take family dinner with us very soon.
I shall be pleased.
I shall finish my notes upstairs, Mama.
Certainly, my love.
What is the matter, Mama?
Nothing. Oh, Count Kitty, I wish to speak with you. Lizzie, I wish to speak with you too.
Is it most necessary, Mamma?
Most necessary. If Mr. Bingley will excuse us.
I was just going to ask. if Miss Jane would like to accompany me in the garden.
By all means!
Yes, Mama.
I wanted to leave them alone, but this is so much better! My dears, he is as fond of her as ever.
Mama, I warn you about jumping to conclusions again.
Mark my words, we will have her Netherfield yet.
Lady Catherine to beg.
Mercy, Lady Catherine, I can't believe my ears.
Show her in.
She must be calling to see you, Lizzie.
That's very strange. We thoroughly dislike each other. I hope you're well, Miss Bennet. This lady, I suppose, is your mother. She is. And that, I suppose, is one of your sisters.
Yes, madam, she is next to my youngest. My youngest is recently married, and my eldest is somewhere about the grounds, walking with a young man who I believe will soon become part of the family.
Miss Bennet, I desire to speak with you alone. Very well, Lady Catherine.
Of course, if there's
Alone.
anything. Yes, of course.
You understand, of course, Miss Bennet, why I have come here. Indeed, I do not, madam. However insincere you may choose to be, I shall be quite frank. A report of the most alarming nature has reached me. And what has it to do with me? It seems you're scheming to marry my nephew, Mr. Darcy. Oh, of course. I know this to be a scandalous falsehood. Such an alliance would be impossible.
If you find it to be impossible,
I wonder why you took the trouble of coming so far. I insist that you deny the report at once.
indeed.
Do you deny it? Has my nephew made you an offer of marriage?
But your ladyship has just said it was impossible.
Miss Bennet, I am Mr. Darcy's nearest relative, and what concerns him deeply concerns me.
But you are no relative of mine, and have no right to bully me into answering any of your questions.
Mr. Darcy is engaged to my daughter.
If this is true, you can have no reason to suppose he will ask me to marry him.
Impossible, girl. Think twice before you marry one so far above you. My daughter has family, connections, a fortune. You have nothing. Such a marriage would be a disgrace.
Mr. Darcy is a gentleman, and I'm a gentleman's daughter. So far, we are equal.
Tell me, once and for all, are you engaged to him?
I'm not.
And will you promise me never to enter into such an engagement?
I will make no such promise.
This is your final resolve? Very well. I shall know how to act. Do not imagine, Miss Bennet, that your ambitions in regard to Mr. Darcy will ever be gratified.
Aunt Catherine! Since Miss Elizabeth has been too polite to ask you to leave her home, I must ask you to go.
My dear Darcy, if you had listened to the pretensions of this upstart girl—
At once!
Miss Bennet, I take no leave of you. I send no compliments to your mother. You deserve no such attentions.
Mr. Darcy, that you've come upon such a scene.
It gives me courage to hope there will still be a chance for me. Is there, Miss Elizabeth?
You have done so much for me, for my family. Lydia told me.
I asked you not to mention it. In a way, I'm to blame for not having told you of Wickham's true character.
I wouldn't let you tell me anything. It was you who brought Mr. Bingley back here, wasn't it?
I was wrong to take him away. Believe me, I hadn't realized the strength of Jane's attachment for him, or his for her.
My behavior to you has been unpardonable from the very beginning, and you have only returned it with kindness.
It was my behavior that was unpardonable. My abominable pride.
And my abominable prejudice. When I think of the things I've said to you, I despise myself.
Am I still the last man in the world?
and you could ever be prevailed upon to marry.
How you must hate me.
Is there no way which I could tempt you to accept?
Please don't, I'm wretched.
Beautifully wretched. Elizabeth, I love you.
Oh, Mr. Darcy.
Will you do me the great honor of becoming my wife?
Yes, Mr. Darcy. My father, if you wish to speak to him, is in the library.
I shall ask him at once.
Lizzie, my dear, I'm so happy. Can I guess the reason?
Miss Jane has promised to become my wife.
I'm going to marry Mr. Bingley.
Here is Jane. I'm sure I shan't sleep a wink all night. He's the handsomest young man I've ever seen. You've always been my favorite daughter.
You believe that wasn't different to him? That's why he left Netherfield so suddenly.
Well, that will teach you not to be so modest, Jane. That's far too much. Why isn't everybody as happy?
My dear, your future sons-in-law.
Mr. Darcy, too! Yes, Mamma, I have loved him for a very long time. Lizzie, dear. Gracious.
Only think, Mr. Darcy, who would
Thank you for your good wishes, Mamma.
Will you excuse us for walking the garden?
Yes.
Oh dear, yes, certainly. We might excuse him, won't we, Mr. Bennet?
I think we'd better.
Only think of it. I am to have 3 sons-in-law.
If any young men come calling for Mary or Kitty, send them in.